more heroes. It's hero begin to catch on nobody but yourself. Nothing less to do.
Travis, it's kill or be killed.
Ow!
Today we're going to be revisiting some familiar ground, as if you guys are here to last stream, you know I went over the Steam Machine. Valve's new hardware that they're releasing seems to be competing with not only other PCs, but also competing with Microsoft, Sony, and what the Nintendo Switch 2 has got going on right now. Just mainly because it seems as if Microsoft has kind of given up on competing with Sony, and they kind of waved the white flag, just claiming that the most thing they're competing with right now is for people's time and attention when it comes to things like TikTok. You know, the gaming company is saying it's competing with TikTok, which is kind of crazy to hear. That came from the CEO directly himself. Not only that, they were working on a PC console hybrid, and this seems to be what the Steam Machine is kind of beating them to the punch with. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't feel like I really covered it adequately enough the other day. I kind of skimmed through a lot and didn't really sit there and cover it in as great as detail as I would have liked to. So we're running it back because I think this time we can do it better than we did it the first time.
Hey everyone, this is Steam Deck. Steam Deck is our powerful, portable, handheld gaming PC that lets you take your Steam library with you anywhere. We're pretty proud of it. People who own Steam Decks have been playing everywhere, and we couldn't be happier with the response we've heard from all of you. We're excited to talk about the future of Steam Deck, but not today, because this isn't a video about the future of Steam Deck. This is a video about the future of Steam hardware. Today, we're announcing 3 new members of the Steam hardware lineup. All connect you with powerful PC gaming. All are optimized for gaming with Steam, and all are shipping in early 2026. Let's start with this one.
Keep in mind, they said early 2026, and I keep seeing Q1 2026, so I'm assuming this thing would come out no later than March if they really want to do it early, but we'll have to wait and see.
This is the new Steam controller. The new Steam controller puts all of your Steam games at your fingertips, so you can play wherever and however you want. Just like with Steam Deck, we want you to be able to play any game with your Steam controller, even games never built with a controller in mind. It has all the great features from Steam Deck, like trackpads, gyro, and back buttons, all in a comfortable form factor. Its next-generation magnetic thumbsticks let you play with improved responsiveness and longevity. We've put capacitive touch sensors on the thumbsticks and now on the back of the controller too, so you can enable precision gyro aiming with the touch of your thumb, or your pinky if you're feeling fancy. Play for way too long with a rechargeable lithium-ion battery that allows for over 35 hours of playtime. With Steam Controller, we want to make charging and wireless pairing something that's actually easy.
So not only do they have all these different features, you have these rechargeable batteries that last allegedly around 35 to 40 hours of playtime. You have all these buttons on the back. You have gyro and just so many different features. And I think that's really cool.
That's why we created the Puck. The Puck is a combination wireless adapter and magnetic charger included with every Steam controller. Snap it on to charge. Once you're charged up, snap it off again. You can play over Bluetooth or a wired connection too. The new Steam controller works with any device running Steam or Steam Link, whether it's a PC, Mac, handheld, smartphone, Steam Deck, or the new Steam Machine. Oh, this is the new Steam Machine.
Seeing how small the Steam Machine is for the first time really tripped me out because it's like less than 6 inches tall. This is like if you took an Xbox Series X and just cut it in half.
Steam Machine is a powerful gaming PC in a small but mighty package, designed for your games on the big screen. It's quiet too, which is crazy since it's 6 times more powerful than a Steam Deck, powered by a discrete, semi-custom AMD GPU, enabling 4K gaming at 60 frames per second.
You said, so a Steam Cube? Nah, Wolf, you gotta call it the Gabe Cube. That's what everybody's calling it, the Gabe Cube. They have the opportunity to do something really funny here by calling it the orange box. People are already making fan edits of like the GameCube and just painting the purple squares orange and then having it turn into the GameCube. It looks so good.
second with FSR. Steam Machine runs SteamOS made for a bigger screen, built for gaming in your living room, your office, or wherever you play, with the rest of your PC accessories. Steam Machine borrows some great features from Steam Deck.
I just want to, I'm sorry I keep pausing this so much, but like I said before, I wanted to add details and information where I didn't have beforehand. And for people who may not know, for here, when they say, for instance, fast, suspend, / resume, if you guys have a Steam Deck or are familiar with the Steam Deck, you have the ability to put it to sleep. And then what that means is you're essentially putting the game in a state where you turn off the screen without fully turning off the actual Steam Deck itself. And so it just pauses the game and everything for you, and then you can just pick it right back up where you left off. Long explanation short.
Like lightning fast sleep and wake, an SD card slot to easily expand your storage.
And of course the Steam Store, Cloud Slaves, Remote Play, all that.
Like a customizable LED strip, which can show different system functionalities, or your own light show. Steam Machine.
And I'm a sucker for that too, because like, let's say you want to update your game and constantly switch back and forth from your TV to your game. It'll actually show you the download bar, how long your game is taking to download through that LED light strip.
Is a PC, so run whatever software you want, and it works with all
Which is cool.
desktop and gaming accessories. Steam Machine is designed to work hand in hand with the Steam controller, with the low latency, wireless connectivity of the Steam controller puck built right in. And it's great for streaming your games to your phone, tablet, laptop, Steam Deck, or Steam Frame.
So you remember when Microsoft said they wanted every screen to be an Xbox? That's what it seems like Valve is doing here, but with their own ecosystem. And instead of it being closed off and kind of anchored to Windows, Linux is one of the most open platforms for people making their own forks, designing their own OSs. People have already gone forward and made their own Steam machines that are like this and similar to this. But this is Valve just kind of doing this officially, which gives us a whole benchmark and a whole, what's the word for it? I suppose standard to go off and for everybody to start doing this kind of thing more often on their own. So other companies, if they see this similar to the Steam Deck, how everybody started releasing, what is it, the ROG Ally, the ROG Ally X before Xbox came out with their Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X, the Lenovo Legion Go 1, Lenovo Legion Go 2, the S, the MSI Claw, AO Neo Slides, like all that, the Switch 2 even. Like when the Steam Deck dropped, there was a big boom and it did increase handheld sales and millions of people have bought the Steam Deck as of now. This thing came out in 2022 and there are still people saying that while the other ones are stronger and nicer, the Steam Deck is basically the Swiss Army knife of handhelds. It's highly customizable. It's great for just gaming, and it really just becomes anything that you want it to be. That's the same model they're taking in with the Steam Machine, and it seems like they're building a whole ecosystem around that model. And that's why so many people are reacting so positively to this. That's why so many people are reacting so crazily to this, because it came out of nowhere. This is what Microsoft wanted to do. This was their entire plan. This is what they were building up to, but it seemed kind of rushed. Like, for example, if you're someone who's very familiar with the MCU versus what DC tried to do, that's kind of what it feels like when it comes to Microsoft and Steam both trying to do the same thing here. Steam has taken the time out to flesh out their own ecosystem and build their own environment, whereas Xbox is trying to rush everybody forward and fast forward them to this point. Which is why Steam has such an easier time doing this, because they built all the software that can handle that. They're still trying to get Windows 11 to be a good experience and not have it be complete ass on people's handhelds.
Oh, yep. This is Steam Frame.
And we have a VR headset as well, as you can see.
Steam Frame is Valve's next generation VR hardware. Stream all your Steam games, VR and non-VR alike, in this comfortable, lightweight, wireless VR headset. Steam Frame uses camera-based tracking, so getting into your games is as easy as slipping on the headset and waking it up. Steam Frame controllers, included with the headset, are designed with all the inputs you need for your VR titles, like motion controls and capacitive tracking for all your fingers, as well as a split gamepad layout to work with your whole Steam library. They even feature the same magnetic thumbsticks as Steam controller for responsiveness and longevity. Steam Frame also pairs seamlessly with the new Steam controller, a great companion for playing non-VR games in the headset. To make sure streaming is smooth and stable no matter what, Steam Frame includes a wireless adapter that lets you stream your games from your PC to your headset over a fast and dedicated Wi-Fi 6 connection. And the game is streamed to your frame optimized for VR, using new technology that allows for the highest resolution streaming exactly where your eyes are looking. And Steam Frame is a PC, running SteamOS. In addition to streaming, you can install and play a bunch of VR and non-VR games right in the headset without a host PC. You can also expand your onboard storage to fit even more games with a micro SD card. Steam Controller, Steam Machine, and Steam Frame. All built with the same DNA as Steam Deck, all powered by Steam, work together, and can be used however you'd like with whatever peripherals and accessories you choose.
That part is important. They allow you to do so much, which is why so many people are making the switch. Because keep in mind, you don't have to pay for online. There's like a Steam sale every day. I'm not kidding. There's something's on sale or something's on a deal every day. Most companies are putting their games on Steam because of how profitable it is. Like, so many other people have tried to make these game stores, and so many other people have tried to make these handhelds and other systems and just kind of do what Valve did, but they missed the point entirely by forgetting about that convenience and that accessibility, that freedom that you just don't get with other platforms, which is why these are so big and why these are so huge. Because it's Steam OS, everything can work together, everything can be used together. You can customize anything as you see fit. This Steam Frame, this VR headset, doesn't require you to make a Facebook account. The only thing you would need is Steam, and then just like how you can with the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck, I would say the controller, but you can't boot up games on the controller. You can just immediately log in and play these. You don't need another PC to use the Steam Frame. The biggest thing that's gonna make or break this is how expensive it is. They don't know how to price this thing yet, but if it's anywhere between, I want to say no higher than $800, like let's say 500 to 800 just to be nice, I think it'll still do numbers even if it is 800, because they said they want to competitively price this with like your average or entry level PC. So it'll probably be a little more on the higher end, higher upfront costs, but over time you're saving a lot of money by not having to pay for online and not having to spend 80, 60, 70 dollars on games all the time.
And can be used however you'd like with whatever peripherals and accessories you choose. Everything you see here is the culmination of what
They released the CAD files already.
we're experiencing and what we wanted ourselves as gamers. Powerful PC gaming in an open ecosystem, giving you more ways to enjoy the games you love and discover new ones. Steam Controller, Steam Machine, and Steam Frame are all shipping in early 2026. Learn more at steampowered.com/hardware.
But it looks really good. Like, it's simple, it's sleek. They didn't do anything crazy with the design. It's small. Because I think that's something we forget and what we take for granted is that consoles used to be a lot smaller. They used to not take up any room. It used to be really easy to just slide a PlayStation 1 or a PlayStation 2. And even like, I wouldn't necessarily say so much an original Xbox, but in terms of something being flat, easy to slide in your home entertainment system, that's what consoles usually were able to do. Now with this PS5 over here and like the Xbox Series, well, I won't say the Series as much, but how the Xbox 360 was and the PS4 and like how bulky the PS3 was before they started making slim versions. Yeah, like it's gotten kind of crazy. It feels like we've lost the plot. Things are getting more and more expensive. The prices of consoles are going up and up. So it's just nice to see a company come in and be like, oh, hey, we're making affordable products for you. Well, hopefully affordable products, because I would like to think this thing is going to be affordable, but we don't know. Valve could come in and tomorrow say like this thing costs $2,000. Is it likely? Not really, but they could do that. I would say this is for those people who have a PC like in their bedroom or who don't want to. Obviously, look at this thing. This thing is not going anywhere. I am not taking this out of my house, off this desk. This thing will stay here until I either replace it, it dies, or you know, whatever happens, right? This is not going anywhere. This is how big it is. This is the Steam Machine. Look at that. It fits almost perfectly in one of his hands.
They're coming back.
That is the Steam Machine. If you're someone who has a PC but wants a living room PC, or if you're someone who wants to get into PC gaming without having to build your own computer or spend too much on a pre-build, this is looking like what's gonna get a lot of those people to buy. The only thing we gotta see is how much it'll cost. This comes out early 2026. They have people demoing it. They have people use it in their hands. They have people playing games with it. They have people not customizing it already, but they're showing them the customization options. People are taking it apart, but that's how big this thing is. Like what he's holding in his hand, that is it. It's just a small black cube.
Like,
It's got two USB-A ports in the front, a spot for the micro SD card slot in the front as well to expand your storage if you don't want to take it apart and get like a M.2 storage to do that as well. The back you see is the fan,
they're coming.
and then his fingers are covering two more of the ports here. Plus it runs off of Steam OS, so you're gonna be booting directly into your game menu, and they're not gonna hit you with an ad on the dashboard like Microsoft did. If you're someone who cares about freedom, customizability, affordability, and accessibility, PC gaming has been the way to go for a while now. I'm not gonna say it's always been that way, because it hasn't. It's getting more and more convenient to build one, and with everything getting more and more expensive, and for you having to pay online if you're playing on consoles, this is the way. But yeah, somebody literally said, Synth Potato over here said if the Steam machine is $400 to $500 device that can run all Steam games, it's easily moddable and generally has great specs with free online multiplayer, you might be looking at a new legitimate competitor in the gaming market, especially if it launches with Half-Life 3. I'm not gonna go that far and say they're gonna launch Half-Life 3, but if they did something like that, especially for the system, because I don't know if Valve has ever made a console before. Well, besides the Steam machine, they attempted more than 10 years ago, because they did do a Steam machine previously, and being honest, it did not sell well. Because it was not good. You had some people who were fans of it, people who picked it up at that time, but Valve after a while just stopped making it. For those who haven't seen the Steam OS, like if you ever launched Steam in big picture mode lately or been looking at the layouts of the store and everything like that, is due to Valve updating the Steam OS so much. When the Steam Deck first launched, the Steam OS was not this good. It quite frankly was not. Like the Steam OS was pretty terrible. If you're someone who uses Steam OS now, it's gotten a lot better, a lot more responsive. They're consistently updating it, from adding different verification messages, because every game that you're going to be playing on a Steam machine is going to have a separate check as well for it being verified on the Steam machine. And for those who don't know what that means, it's basically telling you whether or not the game is actually playable, compatible. Like if you're familiar with emulation at all, and you want to play like an older game or emulate on your current hardware, most people have a green check mark next to it if it's working properly, all features and everything as it intended, as if you're playing it natively, or to be yellow symbolizing that it's playable but something's wrong with it, or just outright say no. you know this will not run for you. Oh yeah, wanted to show you guys Phil Spencer's comments. Let me see what he said. So while the Steam machine could be seen as new competition for the Xbox brand, Phil Spencer only had positive things to say about the upcoming gaming machine. He's looking to build out the success of the Steam Deck. Valve has unveiled what could offer stiff competition to Xbox and PlayStation hardware. And while technically a PC, the Steam machine will provide a console-style experience for gamers in a compact package. Well, yeah, you guys know the system is a 6-inch cube. And while some thinks it looks similar to Nintendo's GameCube, despite its relatively small form factor, Valve said the machine is 6 times as powerful as the Steam Deck, making it capable of running popular AAA titles. But here's Phil Spencer's tweet. Let me zoom in so you guys can actually see this. So he went on to say that gaming moves forward when players and developers have more ways to play and create, especially across open platforms. Expanding access across PC, console, and handheld devices reflects a future built on choice, core values that have guided Xbox's vision from the start. And as one of the largest publishers on Steam, we welcome new options for players to access games everywhere. And he went on to say congratulations. Now, keep in mind, this is the same company that proceeded to shut down a bunch of studios after acquiring them, releasing almost next to no games recently, and then raising the price of Game Pass and their consoles highly. This is the exact thing Microsoft wants to do. The thing is, they're gonna be forced to do it a year or two after this thing comes out. Because while most people are theorizing 2027, I don't think it'll get here as early. Or maybe it might. Maybe this might light a fire underneath them and get them to release this stuff a lot earlier. It's just a little tricky trying to narrow down when it might actually release. Because if I was Microsoft, I'd be sweating right now. I would be trying to get this thing out the door as soon as possible. Because what do you mean the one thing we wanted to do, Steam just all of a sudden dropped their announcement and decided they wanted to do? If you can only afford one, realistically, which one would you get? I know a lot of people are still loyal to the Xbox brand. You said for sure there. Hella word. Yeah, I agree. Because this is coming at a time, like had this came 2 years earlier, if Microsoft had announced that and then maybe dropped it this year before all the controversy, don't get me wrong, there's still some people who are going to be loyal to a brand no matter what, especially with how many times they've played on a certain platform and their friends and everything. But if a platform is constantly screwing you over, getting more unaffordable and expensive, and then you have these guys coming in who have a great reputation, who haven't had as much controversy, and who have known for doing like 80% off, 90% off, 60% off deals for games all the time. Come on now. Like if you're someone who just wants the best bang for their buck, where are you going? Right now, Steam is Goku coming in and saving us from Frieza. Frieza being Microsoft. I'm not going to say this thing is going to come out and be perfect and everybody's going to automatically love it. But when you have people who have prototypes in their hands already, for not just for the Steam machine, but people got to demo the Steam frame, the Steam machine, and the Steam controller already. People have uploading videos of it everywhere. Like I said before, Linus Tech Tips, Digital Foundry, like did an hour-long discussion on it almost. So many different like hardware channels and stuff like that. I just can't call them off the top of my head. There's so many different channels that did it. I'll probably just like throw it up when I actually post the video. Just different channels that I watched. There's just so much here. There is so much here. And that's why I kind of want to do this deep dive today, because there is so much content to talk about with these things. And I just wanted to add in just one video. I went over this yesterday, but I didn't go over it in full like I wanted to or needed to. So I just want to talk a little more about the specs and show you guys what it actually has in it. The CPU is apparently an AMD Zen 4 chip, core 6 out of 12, RAM, 16 gigabytes of RAM. And apparently the GPU is like a custom version specifically made for the Steam machine. So it's like an AMD RDNA 3, but if you're wondering what this would be equivalent to on the NVIDIA side and the AMD side, there isn't necessarily a one-to-one representation, but people are comparing this to a 4060 for NVIDIA GPU and an AMD 70, I want to say 600 or 7300. Let me double check. $7600M or NVIDIA RTX 4060. 8 gigabytes of VRAM, 28 compute units. They'll have a 512 gigabyte option and a 2 terabyte option. Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth, a display port for 1.4 and HDMI 2.0. Now this is important as well because it says HDMI 2.0, but that's specifically because it doesn't come with all the features you would expect from an HDMI 2.1 connection. And apparently, according to Linus Tech Tips, they were actually adamant about saying how much it supported 2.1 things, but it's not fully there yet. So we don't know if they're gonna actually like finish developing that and maybe have it be fully 2.1 or not. But if you're wondering if it can support like 120 frames and stuff like that, it will be able to. It just won't have some features like DSC and maybe not VRR. But we'll have to wait and see on that to be fully confirmed when Valve drops this thing for real. 2 USB 3.0 Type A's on the front, a micro SD card, like I said before. 2 USB 2.0 Type A's, apparently 1 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C, which is 10 gigabits per second, and an Ethernet cable, which can support up to 1 gigabit, well, not Ethernet cable, but Ethernet port. It can support up to 1 gigabits per second for the speed. Price, we still don't know. But look at how small this thing is. I'm sorry, I just can't get over the actual form factor because I know there's so many people who wanted a PC in the living room. And they're doing it a year before Microsoft. Like if you're Phil Spencer, you gotta be walking around the office like... Because this is literally your whole business model, walking out the door a year before you drop. This is the same energy Drake had when he dropped his diss track to Kendrick, and then Kendrick dropped Meet the Grams.
Let's get this shit. Drake. What is that?
This literally sucks all the momentum out the room. Like, it's insane. Granted, as excited as I am, we just gotta see what the price look like. If that price is good, we good. Let me see if there's anything else I got for y'all concerning this box. Oh, almost forgot. We're already seeing people toss around ideas and customizations. D-Brand, which is known for making skins. Like for instance, when Sony had other businesses making faceplates for the PS5, the base PS5, they sent them cease and desist letters telling them to take it down or they're gonna sue the out of them. Like, this is crazy. Like what are we doing? But here we have already a company coming out and saying they want to do a companion cube skin for this, which is from Portal, which is a Valve game. This is easy marketing. If you make a good product that people can get around, if you treat your consumers like human beings and not dollar signs, which don't get me wrong, Valve still is a corporation. I would never believe in blindly following any corporation or giving them your loyalty, because Valve could wake up tomorrow and just reverse everything and then be suddenly the worst company on the planet. I mean, I'll go some wood so that don't happen. A lot of their business practices are very consumer friendly and they're very consistent. So if you've been following any of their patterns in terms of business or how they treat their employees and other people, typically something like this is going to not only be endorsed, but it's going to start a trend. I was telling people in here earlier, like they could do the most funniest thing here and make an orange box skin. Yeah, for a start, it's a render and not a particularly good one at that. For a second, it appeared on D-Brand's site a day after the Steam Machine announcement, with zero details other than a sign-up form for email notifications and a smattering of coming 2026 text, which suggests it's an idea someone might have come with on the spot. And apparently, they've already emailed Valve about the case, and it really does appear to be in the works. And they went on to say that after yesterday's announcement of the Steam Machine, we asked our industrial design team the only sensible question: can we turn this thing into a real-life companion cube? And they said yes. The answer is yes. Even after accounting for the removable faceplate and air intake requirements, we're confident it's fully viable. And it's apparently being designed as we speak, and we don't know anything about it other than absolutely minimal information. And they reached out to D-Brand for more info. They will update this piece if anything, if they receive anything. But still, the 2026 timeframe would mean it releases in the same year as the Steam Machine, at least. And Valve has already provided the potential facility for aesthetic mods with a customizable faceplate. So it'll be something of a continuation on the theme. And jumping on a whole Valve equals Portal, Portal equals Valve bit would likely shift a few units, and I could see streamers sticking in their cam shots as a bit of extra decor. Yeah, That's another thing too I didn't even think of. Like streamers who, like myself, like having their systems and consoles in the background. That would be perfect. Like just have it here as decoration. Me personally, I'm not gonna keep my Steam machine in here. That's going straight in the living room for when people come over and everything. Like that would be perfect. But other streamers, I could see like if you're someone who does not have a PC or you stream primarily on like your Xbox or PlayStation or something like that, this would be great for you. This is a way to get in, and then you can still, all you need is a capture card. You can still play your games on the console while streaming off of the PC and just add more production value to stream. Like there is a market for this. There is very much a market for this. Portal's cultural weight within the gaming community is strong, as evidenced by the fact that I can still see people making the cake is alive references in 2025, over 18 since its original release. So how much will it cost? No idea. How will it possibly potentially interfere with the Steam machine? Not a clue. Do I want one? No, not really, but lots of people might. We live in confusing and uncertain times. This case, however, does not appear to be a lie. Thank you and good night. I hate them. IGN also dropped a hands-on preview too, so we can watch their video in case anybody wants to see what this thing looks like in actual action. It's like 10 minutes long, so I just wanted to show you guys that.
For the first time since Valve teamed up with manufacturers like Alienware and Lenovo back in the 2010s. But while those original console PC hybrids failed because the software...
Yeah, and this is one of their collaborations. They had so many different forms of the actual Steam machine that it made it that much harder for developers to actually release anything for the Steam machine because you had so many different versions. Keep in mind, it's like having to make a game for the Switch 1, the PS4, the Xbox Series S, the Xbox Series X, which there are some games that didn't pop on Xbox, like Black Myth Wukong and a few others due to the performance issues on the S, like Baldur's Gate 3. And I don't even think it got to port into the Xbox until it actually fixed those issues, because Microsoft requires console parity between the Series S and the Series X, which led to a lot of extra development time for a lot of different developers if they wanted to drop their game on the Xbox for the current gen consoles. Just so you guys didn't know, just in case you guys didn't know.
Software wasn't quite there yet, and there's a lack of an appetite for it. 2022's Steam Deck has paved the way for the Steam machine's return. This time around, instead of partnering with outside manufacturers, Valve is building and releasing a singular Steam machine with the goal of being able to run all current PC games. Let's jump into some of the technical stuff. Valve is aiming for any game available on Steam to run at 4K with upscaling techniques such as FSR. The secret behind this is an AMD RDNA 3 GPU with power roughly equivalent to an RTX 4060 or RX 7600 mobile graphics card.
Is that a lot?
That might be disappointing to anyone looking to max out everything at high resolutions, but it should have plenty of power while still being relatively affordable, we assume. Now, Valve hasn't announced anything on price yet, so we spent a day at Valve playing around with it, and while we haven't had the chance to run the usual gamut of gaming benchmarks, it looks like the new Steam machine might be a serious contender for your living room space. On the surface, the Steam machine seems a lot like the old Steam machine. They're both gaming PCs with a modest spec and meant to run games on Valve's own Linux-based SteamOS. But while the originals had trouble selling, mostly due to the high prices and a lack of Linux compatibility at the time, SteamOS has changed a lot over the last decade. The biggest part of that is Proton, Valve's compatibility layer that essentially translates Windows games to Linux, allowing you to play most of Steam's vast catalog of games on SteamOS, even if they don't officially support Linux. Anyone who's used a Steam Deck over the last few years will know that most games run seamlessly through SteamOS, sometimes even with performance that exceeds the equivalent Windows 11 machines, as we saw with the SteamOS version of the Lenovo Legion Go S. There are a few exceptions, notably some online multiplayer games with anti-cheat software that doesn't play nice with SteamOS, like Battlefield 6 and Destiny 2, but for the most part, if it's on Steam, it'll run on SteamOS. Valve let us play a variety of games on the new Steam machine, and it ran everything from Cyberpunk 2077 to Silent Hill F to Metal Gear Solid Delta without any major issues. It just took some configuring to find the right graphics settings to balance performance. Of course, once we get the Steam machine in the lab, we'll be able to run a wider variety of games to see just how flexible it is, but for the time being, it does seem like most games will run. Luckily, Valve is also taking the Steam Deck Verify program and duplicating it for the Steam machine. Soon there will be 3 different verification badges, one each for the Steam Deck, Steam Machine, and the Steam Frame, which is Valve's new VR headset. Because the hardware isn't actually out yet, we're not sure how widespread this will be, but if Deck Verified is anything to go off of, you can expect a concerted effort. Now, the Steam machine might be a gaming PC, but it doesn't really look like one. It's a tiny black box with a slim RGB light bar across the front, mostly meant to indicate that it's on. And when I say it's tiny, I mean it. The PC is a cube that measures roughly 6-7 inches on each side and appears less than half the size of an Xbox Series X. It's actually closer to the size of a GameCube. The front panel is magnetic too and can be swapped out to customize the way the console looks. When we were at Valve, we saw a number of custom designs already. Valve hasn't confirmed whether or not it will be selling alternative front panels, but it'll release the 3D printing files so you can make your own, and you can expect third parties to hop on as well. Because this is ostensibly a desktop PC, there's a wealth of ports. On the front, you got 2 USB-A ports right there, and a micro SD slot if you want to expand your storage. And on the back, you get DisplayPort, HDMI 2.0, 2 extra USB-A ports, and a USB-C port, along with the power connector. And Valve did open up the Steam Machine itself so we can get a brief look at its internals. A bulk of the space is taken up by a giant heatsink, which has an exhaust fan at the back that sucks air through the front and bottom of the device and expels it through the rear to keep the device operating at a cool temperature. It's a bold design, especially considering that the Steam Machine's GPU is operating with a TDP of 110 to 130 watts. We'll have to wait and see how its thermals handle load when we get the system in for review early next year though. The bottom of the Steam Machine houses the SSD, which will come in either a 512GB or 2TB NVMe 2230 drive, depending on which version you buy. You can replace it, and unlike the Steam Deck, the SSD slot has space for a full-sized NVMe 2280 drive, which are both more affordable and easier to find. Don't get too hopeful about upgrading the device beyond the storage though. The rest of the components are soldered on and will not be upgradable. The new Steam Machine is one spec. That's a little disappointing, especially given Valve's history of letting its users do what they want with the hardware. However, this is how you get such a tight form factor like this. Given the Steam Machine's console-like qualities, it will likely appeal to most people who just want a plug-and-play gaming device. For them, I suspect the lack of upgradability will be a non-issue, at least until it starts showing its age years down the line. The Steam Machine will also be available with the new Steam controller, or without one. Whether or not you get the Steam Machine bundled with the new controller, the system will have the controller's wireless receiver built in, so you don't have to worry about always having a USB port available occupied by a little dongle.
The thing that's going to make this better too is because the Xbox is going to be releasing next year or in 2028, you're going to have some people who might wait on this thing to see what their price is. And if that ends up being more expensive, you're going to have people who are like, well, the Steam Machine is only so-and-so, and then they have so-and-so and do so-and-so. So that's going to be good competition. So it's going to force Microsoft to have to do something different and have to get competitive. It's going to force them to compete and do something.
This new Steam Machine is powered by a custom chip made by AMD and Valve with an RDNA 3 GPU and 28 compute units and a TDP between 110 and 130 watts, which would place it roughly around a mobile RX 7600. And this is paired with a 6-core Zen 4 CPU with a TDP of around 30 watts. But despite the modest specs, the Steam Machine seems to be a capable gaming PC. We played Cyberpunk 2077 at 4K with ultra preset settings and FSR set to performance, and the action stayed playable. We even went to the settings menu and turned on ray tracing, and performance seemed to stay solid. Although we didn't have a frame counter up for Cyberpunk, I did get more granular with Metal Gear Solid Delta. It being an Unreal Engine 5 game, mileage will vary, but I found a good middle ground with 1440p, balanced FSR, and high quality settings, and getting 60 FPS at times and dipping to around the 40s at others. Things were slightly different with Silent Hill F though. After a lengthy process of installing the shaders, something every game seems to need to do these days, it defaulted to ultra settings at 4K with TSR, or Temporal Super Resolution, instead of AMD's FSR. At these settings, Silent Hill struggled, chugging along at what seemed to be 15 to 20 FPS, not exactly what I'd call playable. After adjusting the settings down to medium at 1440p with FSR enabled, things felt much better, but this just highlights that the Steam Machine is still a gaming PC at the end of the day, for better and worse. Tweaking settings to optimize performance is a time-honored tradition among PC gamers, but again, might be less appealing to people who just want a plug-and-play gaming experience. Valve says it intends for the Steam Machine to be able to play all current games at 4K with FSR upscaling, but there are going to be plenty of games, especially ones running on Unreal Engine 5, where you'll have to lower settings to get it running at a smooth frame rate. If anything, it has us eager to benchmark it to see exactly what it'll be capable of.
The thing that makes the actual verification system great too is the fact that a lot of people will pick up games based on whether they're actually compatible with the Steam Deck and the software they have. So let's say you're someone who picks up the Steam Machine and you're wondering what games you can play, or you recently got a Steam Deck. there is a whole section that just says verified on Steam Deck, great on Steam Deck, controller compatible, and all those things. And you'll see the check mark. So you'll know what games are absolutely verified and will 100% run well on the system. You don't have to just go running around in the dark, which can increase sales. And a lot of people will fight for that.
Compromises you'll have to make on quality settings will vary between games, but it appears things will at least run. It's likely that over time developers will be able to sense the Steam Machine's hardware and account for appropriate presets. After all, many games do that already with the Steam Deck, and hopefully the Steam Machine gets the same treatment. If it does though, this thing could be a serious contender in the next generation of consoles, especially as the next Xbox looks increasingly PC-like. According to Valve, about 20% of its Steam Deck users use the official dock to connect their handheld to the TV. That might not seem like a lot, but given that Valve has shipped millions of Steam Decks, a first-generation product mind you, 20% is not an insignificant number of people. However, there are limitations to running a Steam Deck on a TV, chief among them is performance. While the Steam Deck is powerful enough for running PC games on its 800p display, it can't really handle higher resolutions very well, especially when you're connected to a 4K TV. The Steam Machine then is the answer. This is a living room gaming PC that should be able to play most games at 4K, assuming you're okay with upscaling from like 1080p or 1440p for more demanding stuff, which is increasingly common in the PC gaming space anyway. And while the Steam Machine will have to contend with similarly spec'd gaming PCs that can be upgraded, this isn't really intended for the do-it-yourself hardware enthusiast. Rather, this feels more like a PC for console gamers. You know, people who didn't play games on PC until the Steam Deck hit the market, or those who just want simplicity.
Yeah, it's a great point of entry for those who don't want to get their hands dirty and building their own computer, or who feel like they don't want to get into all the complicated setup of having a computer and doing maintenance on it. This is great for that.
Runs the same operating system and has the same library, only it'll be able to play games at much higher settings. Valve claims the Steam Machine is up to 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck, so it should avoid situations like Baldur's Gate 3, where the second you load into Act 3 on the handheld, your frame rate slows to a crawl. So if the Steam Deck made you flirt with the idea of PC gaming, the Steam Machine looks like it'll be the next logical step for you, especially as games get increasingly more demanding. For everyone else who already has a gaming PC, at least Steam as a platform is evolving. It's impossible to talk about PC hardware in 2025 without bringing up price. Devices from the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X in October to the RTX 5080 back in January have all launched with significantly higher prices compared to what they would have been in previous years. Console pricing hasn't fared much better as the Switch 2 hit store shelves at $150 more than its predecessor, while the PS5 and the Xbox Series X have both faced price hikes within the last year. Valve hasn't shared pricing for the Steam.
I just want to look at that again. They went from $499 at launch, the Series X and the PlayStation 5, so $500,
Within the last year.
to $549 and $649 respectively. That's why so many people are saying between like $500 to $800 for this thing is a sweet spot, because even though they're saying they want it to competitively be priced to compete with other PCs, so this thing might be a little more, they're still going to be directly competing with people who are on consoles because of how much more expensive console gaming is getting and how much more PC-like it is starting to become. So people who may not want to deal with those premiums with the PS6 and the new Xbox console, especially if it's going to be a PC console hybrid anyway, running on primarily Windows 11, this might be great for people who want to make the jump but just didn't know how to. I'm sorry, I kind of just keep saying the same thing at this point, but I think it's important to recognize who this is for and who this isn't for. Like if you're someone who wants to play these games at the highest graphical fidelity, highest frame rate, the best options possible, build a PC or buy a pre-built PC that's really good and then learn how to build and swap out the parts over time. But if you're someone who doesn't mind tinkering a little bit or getting something that's entry level, mid level for like the living room if you already have one of these PCs, or if you're someone who just doesn't want to go through the headache of owning one, this is great for you because it's still ideally going to be coming in at that same price point you would get for consoles nowadays, or save you even more money than having to build a PC from scratch or buy a pre-build, because pre-builds are expensive too. A lot of people say just buy a pre-build if you don't want to spend that much money, or build a computer for cheaper. Pre-builds are expensive and not all of them are without their headaches either. That's something to keep in mind as well. You still have to go through and do your research and understand what's inside the actual build to understand what it is that you're buying in the first place.
Valve hasn't shared
which realistically you should already be doing, but you know, more than half the people in the country are functionally illiterate, so we have that.
pricing for the Steam machine yet, but they did tell us that it will be competitively priced with similarly spec'd gaming PCs. Keeping in mind that this is running a last generation GPU and processor, it could mean that pricing might end up being relatively reasonable, but we just won't know until Valve decides to share more. And we'll definitely cover that when the time comes, but the hope is that Valve keeps the Steam machine under $1,000 hopefully. If it wants to compete with Xbox's and PlayStation space in the living room, it'll have to. For more on what Valve has cooking up in the hardware space, be sure to check out our hands-on previews of the new Steam controller and the Steam Frame VR headset. And for everything else in the world of games and tech, stick with IGN.
I will say if this thing launches for like less than 800, it's an instant cop for a lot of different people, maybe myself included. But if it's like 800 max, I still think I'd go out and grab it just because of the long-term value in it. Let me see what else. Oh, you know what I didn't even think of and I didn't even mention earlier? There are a lot of people in the FGC who are really excited about this because you have to deal with PlayStation's constantly overheating and moving units to hold a tournament. And then there are issues with connectivity over time because PlayStation 5s have big overheating issues, especially for tournaments. So a lot of people were like hoping that this thing ends up popping off and being good enough to run fighting games just genuinely well. And instead of you having to worry about your actual fights, because keep in mind, unless you have like a like one of these, one of like the Razer Kitsunes and stuff like that, or other levelists that are licensed to work on the PS5 and are day one like natively compatible, you have to get an adapter, you have to hope Bluetooth works, or you basically have to go out of your way to make sure that they work properly with the PS5. And it's a big headache for everybody involved versus a PC, which is a lot more compatible with different control types and different control schemes. So not only will it be less of a headache for TOs and the people actually running the events, but now as a player, you have more freedom to bring different controllers you normally might not have been able to play with. Yeah, this one comes from Alex Valle, who was talking about FGC's tournament standard machines might be a reality soon. Let me see. I know FDX was also talking about it as well, so I might be able to find that for him. Yeah, imagine you can do some FGC events on a Steam OS PC. But that would be great. By the way, follow me on Twitter if y'all haven't already. I do post on there pretty consistently. That all being said, like this thing is looking good. It's looking great. It's saying all the right things. It's showing us what exactly it's gonna be. So you're not getting surprised or caught off guard by anything. The only thing we need to see is that price. That is the only thing we need to see. It is that price. And granted, they wanted to do a Steam Deck 2 as well, but the only thing keeping them from doing a Steam Deck 2 is they want to wait until there's been enough advances in technology because they don't want it to be 30, 40, 50% stronger. They want it to be an actual advancement. They want you to buy the Steam Deck 2 knowing that it's way stronger than the Steam Deck 1. The Steam Deck built the foundation for this. And if you've seen what Valve did with the Steam Deck, you'll have a pretty good idea of what this thing is capable of and what they're going for. You're not getting top-of-the-line graphics and top-of-the-line performance in your games, but you are getting customizability, affordability, and some of the best consumer-friendly practices in the market. You are still getting a pretty good price-to-performance ratio and a very good bang for your buck. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes long-term, especially with all the different things people are going to be doing skin-wise, customizing the faceplates. So it'll be interesting to see how this affects the market long-term. It'll be interesting to see what Phil Spencer, what Sarah Bond, and like everybody else has going on, the CEOs of Sony, the people at Nintendo. It's going to be big. It's going to affect the industry in one way or another, as long as that price is correct. That's the only thing. That price just has to be good. But all being said, I hope this informed you a little better. I hope you came away from this a little more knowledgeable about the actual platform and what Steam is offering and the machine and the frame and the controller. Might do separate videos for those, might not. But I just kind of wanted to do like a giant overview just to show you like the giant ecosystem they're trying to create as far as the controllers and Steam frames are concerned. And that all being said, if you like this video, we also do have something in the works as well, just because I'll be reviewing that in the back here. The Corsair Novablade Pro. It's another levelist fight stick. I like a lot of fighting games, and I recently was in the market for a new one, so I really want to get something like this. So I'll be recording that video tomorrow, so don't be surprised if this drops like a day or two after the Steam video, depending on how it goes, how the recording goes.